Late at night, the hospital corridor was quiet but not empty. The dim lights above flickered faintly, casting long shadows on the cold, tiled floor. In the corner, against the wall, a young mother sat hunched over, her back curved as though carrying the weight of the world. Her baby lay nestled in her arms, wrapped in a thin, worn cloth that barely kept the night's chill away. She had no pillow, no blanket, and no bed to rest upon, just the hard ground beneath her. Her clothes were simple and faded, showing the struggles of days that had been just as harsh as this one. People walked by, nurses in a rush, visitors lost in worry, patients moving with quiet pain. Most of them noticed her, but only for a second, before their eyes shifted away. To them, she was just another stranger, another burden of life's cruelty. Yet, in her tired eyes was something undeniable, a fierce love, a determination to shield her child even when she had nothing else to give. The baby stirred, letting out a soft whimper, and the mother gently rocked him, whispering promises he was too young to understand. In that small, forgotten corner, her presence seemed invisible to the world. Still, the bond between her and her baby filled the cold emptiness with warmth. It was a picture of quiet sacrifice, a silent cry for compassion, and a reminder of how love can endure even when everything else is stripped away. The sliding doors of the hospital entrance opened with a quiet hiss, and a tall man in a crisp suit stepped inside. He was a billionaire, arriving not with fanfare but in silence, here to visit a sick relative. His polished shoes clicked against the floor as he walked down the corridor, his eyes scanning the sterile walls and the restless faces around him. But then, mid-step, he slowed. His gaze fell on the young mother curled on the cold floor with her baby. For a moment, he stood still, surprised by the sight. The scene didn't match the world he was used to, the world of glass towers, luxury cars, and endless comfort. The fragility before him seemed to belong to another reality, yet it was happening right in front of him. The baby's tiny fingers clutched at the thin cloth, and the mother's eyes, heavy with exhaustion, still carried a quiet strength. The billionaire felt an unexpected heaviness in his chest. Around him, people kept moving, as if nothing unusual was happening. But he couldn't. Something about the picture of love and struggle on that cold floor rooted him in place. For the first time in a long while, the noise of his busy, powerful life faded into the background. All he could see was a mother fighting to give her child warmth in a world that had given her so little. He realized he wasn't just a witness to suffering, he was standing at the edge of a choice. For a long moment, the billionaire simply stood there, watching. His polished world of power and wealth suddenly felt fragile in comparison to the raw truth before him. The mother, though weary, never loosened her hold on her child. She shifted slightly, wincing at the hardness of the floor, but made no complaint. Her entire being seemed to say, "As long as my baby is safe, I can endure anything." And then, something stirred inside him, an old memory, long buried but never forgotten. He saw his own mother again, years ago, working double shifts just to put food on the table. He remembered how she skipped meals so he could eat, how she mended the same pair of shoes over and over, and how she told him that one day, he would rise above it all. His chest tightened. He had become the billionaire she dreamed he'd be, yet he had almost forgotten the cost of her sacrifices. The sight of this young woman was like looking into a mirror of the past. He suddenly realized how easily he could have been that child, cradled on the floor, helpless and cold. A wave of humility washed over him, tearing down the walls of pride he had built over the years. It wasn't just pity he felt, it was recognition, a deep understanding of her silent struggle. And in that moment, he knew he couldn't simply walk away. This was not chance. It was a reminder, and perhaps, a calling. The decision came to him almost instantly, as if his heart had spoken before his mind could intervene. He stepped forward, his voice calm but firm as he called for a nurse. The staff, surprised by his presence, quickly gathered around. Without hesitation, he instructed them to prepare a private room, warm blankets, and a hot meal for the mother and her baby. His tone left no room for delay, it was clear this was not a request, but an urgent command. The mother looked up, startled, her tired eyes widening with confusion. She had grown so used to being overlooked that kindness felt almost foreign. For a moment, she clutched her child tighter, unsure if she had done something wrong. But when she saw the softness in the stranger's eyes, her fear melted into trembling relief. Within minutes, the cold floor was no longer her world. Nurses carefully guided her into a quiet room where a clean bed waited, fresh sheets tucked neatly, and warmth filled the space. A tray of food was brought in, and a small blanket was placed over her baby. Tears slid down her cheeks as she whispered a broken "thank you," her voice quivering with gratitude she could hardly put into words. The billionaire simply nodded, watching as her shoulders eased for the first time that night. In just 1 minute, with one decision, despair had been replaced by dignity. And as the baby sighed softly into sleep, the weight in his own heart began to lift. As the night grew quieter, the billionaire stood at the doorway, watching the scene unfold before him. The baby, once shivering in the cold, now slept peacefully on the soft bed, his tiny chest rising and falling in steady rhythm. The young mother sat beside him, her face still streaked with tears, but her expression had changed. Where there had been exhaustion and fear, now there was relief and fragile hope. She gently stroked her child's hair, whispering prayers of gratitude into the silence. For the billionaire, it was a moment of revelation. All the skyscrapers he had built, the wealth he had amassed, the luxury surrounding his life, it all seemed small compared to the simple sight of a mother's love and a child's safety. True wealth, he realized, wasn't measured in numbers or possessions. It lived in the power to ease someone's pain, to restore dignity where it was lost, to give hope when the world had taken it away. That night, he walked out of the hospital with something far more valuable than what he had come with. He carried a renewed heart, softened by compassion, humbled by memory, and lifted by the knowledge that kindness can change a life in an instant. But he wasn't the only one changed. For the mother, the stranger's generosity wasn't just comfort for a night, it was proof that humanity still cared, that even in her darkest hour, she and her child were not invisible. 3 lives had been touched, and all by a single act of compassion.